You know that Jungkook guy from BTS? They caught me listening in the bathroom, dude. It's my shit playlist. So it's hard to poop in North Korea because all we eat are rats and first cousins. And so you get a little constipated, and it's hard to access things that will help the flow down there. So the one thing that I found is that listening to music, because my body is so brittle from not eating for 11 years, the sound waves actually vibrate my entire body because I'm skin and bones. And it helps me take a shit. So I call them K shits, K-pop shits. Welcome, everyone, to the first solo episode of Breaking Takes. Sam is not with us this week. She's not with us this episode. Her grandma passed away, sadly, and Sam is back home taking care of business. So we're going to have a little bit of a summer hiatus, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. But in the meantime, I'm still here. I'm not queer like Sam, but I'm here. And we have half of the duo. I'm not that, everything you do comes down to sexuality, but, I can give a straight take and I can try to give a queer take. It's something that just happens when you record podcasts, is you learn from the other person. And Sam is someone who is a lesbian, and that is a fact. And it is Pride Month, so I'm going to do a story about Pride Month at some point during this solo podcast. I'm not going to start with it because there's other things on my mind, but I'm just here to let you know that I'm going to represent the shit out of all different sexualities and consciousnesses and everything that has been part of the Breaking Take show. I can't speak for everyone. I can't even speak for Sam. Most of the time I can't even speak for myself because I'm doing a solo podcast feels like you're mentally ill. It literally feels like you're having a conversation with your own thoughts. But I'm going to try to speak as a person representing the Breaking Takes podcast, whatever form or consciousness or gender, spirit, queer, straight, bi, tri, die, lie, fi, die, finance, district that takes. So all that being said, RIP to Sam's grandma. And I hope that she is in a better place. I know that she's in a better place because, Grandma Nash, from what I understand, was a great person. And, she was very close to Sam. And I don't imagine someone being that close to Sam who isn't a great person. And so prayers up for Sam's grandma. And honestly, I get jealous. I get jealous a little bit about, like, when I hear people whose grandmas pass away and they say, "Oh, I was so close to my grandpa," or "I was so close to my grandma," whatever grandparent it is, and they were in my life. I would call them 3 times a week, and they were at my graduation, and they go to my pickleball tournaments and all that stuff. I get jealous of that because I wasn't exceptionally close to any of my grandparents. I have one grandma that is still alive, and she's great, but when I was growing up, I would see my grandparents 3, maybe 4 times a year for the major holidays, Christmas, Easter, Flag Day, check them off, boom, go to my grandma's house. The whole family comes over. We have a huge feast. And that was that. And then I wouldn't see my grandma again for another 5, 6 months, maybe, depending on the year. And then we'd all get together, and it was a good time. And I love my grandma and my grandparents who passed away as well. I loved them, but I was never to the point where, like, I wasn't broken up. And that sounds fucked up to say, but when my grandparents started to pass away, it wasn't like a thing that broke me up to the point where I would go, oh, I need to process this. I need to take some time off and process this. And that's why I'm a little bit jealous, because Sam obviously has a close relationship with her grandma, and she's taking some time to process it and what that relationship meant. Where for me, it's like, you know, my grandpa gave me my first alcoholic beverage. He snuck me some rum in my pina colada when I was 12 or 13 years old, so I got a taste of that. My grandma would make lamb on Christmas Day, and it was a good relationship. But when things started to happen, when life rolled on and grandparents, started to fall by the wayside, it was sad. And you go to their funeral and you hear people say some words, but then later that afternoon, I'm on the basketball court talking shit to my friends, and I'm a little bit sad, but at the same time, I just didn't have that close connection with a grandparent, and I feel like that's cool. It's cool to have that. I'm jealous of people who have had that, and I have a lot of great relationships in my life, and it just so happened to be that having extremely close grandparents where I'm FaceTiming on a Tuesday and I just say, yo, Granny, I just had this fire Hinge date. You will never believe the ass on this chick. And my grandma goes, oh, no way. No way. Tell me about that ass. And I go, yo, I could rest a Coke bottle on her ass and her personality as well, because they came together in this beautiful vortex of a soul. And I looked into the soul on the Hinge date, and grandma says, yo, fuck all that shit. Did you smash or not? Did you smash or not? And I go, grandma, yo, it's not always about that. But yeah, I fucking smashed, granny. I smashed that shit. So all that to be said, I wish I had that relationship, but it is what it is. And I'm grateful for the relationships that I've had. Speaking of relationships, Baby Reindeer. Holy shit. I just finished Baby Reindeer last night, and that is a wild ride. You're watching something, it's so intense. I've seen some intense episodes of television. I would say the most intense episode of television I've ever seen is the finale of the show Hannibal. And right up there, two, maybe three of intense episodes of television is the fourth episode of Baby Reindeer, where the main character of Baby Reindeer, I'm blanking out, Donnie Dunn. When Donnie Dunn links up with this writer, and he keeps going back and taking the drugs, taking the GHB, the Molly, LSD, and then the writer just absolutely pillages him against his will repeatedly. And they show the graphicness of it, and there's some blood and there's some flashbacks, and it's just like the, he's waking up and some dude's fucking sucking him off that he didn't consent to, and all this just deranged, fucked up shit. And I had to take a moment in between episodes, because these are only 30-minute episodes. I think the fourth one, the most intense one that I'm talking about, was around 45 minutes. But I had to take a break. I was watching with my girlfriend. I turned to her and I said, I can't watch another episode of this today. I need to take a break. And we ended up watching a rom-com with Sydney Sweeney and some other dude. I forget what it's called, but it ended up being better than I expected. But I just wanted to watch something that was funnier, or something that was light, before I went to bed, because I felt like my brain was raped from that Baby Reindeer episode. I was like, where does it start and where does it end? Because I feel traumatized from Baby Reindeer. I guess that's also a symbol of how good my life has gone and how lucky I am and how grateful I am for, not having a sexual assault experience like that is that when I'm watching this, in the aftermath of that episode, I think, "Oh, damn, my life's pretty good. My life is pretty fucking good." And I know it's weird to just watch a dude get raped repeatedly and then think, "Oh, yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for life." But that is what I felt. That aside from the just, like, the sick, deranged, twisted feelings that I had, I was thinking later, uh, later that night, my life has been pretty fucking good. I haven't had to deal with or navigate any of this shit. You know, the biggest trauma. Yeah, I mean, there's been some trauma. I know that word trauma gets overused, but it is nothing compared to wanting to make it. Like it would be like if I wanted to make it to the podcast industry. If I wanted to, be the Joe Rogan of podcasting, and some guy promised me that, and he said, you're showing some promise. I hold the keys to the podcasting industry, and you're going to come over, and we're going to record podcasts, and I'm going to help you make it. I'm gonna bring you into my studio, and I'm going to help you make it. And you're going to skyrocket to the top. And then every time we recorded a podcast, the guy goes, "Hey, instead of this water you're drinking to stay hydrated, let's take a shot of liquid ecstasy." And then I go, "Okay, I I guess." And then I'm starting to look around, and I'm feeling it. I go, "Yeah, where are the microphones? I thought we were recording a podcast." And then he pulls out a huge microphone style thing that is actually a dildo. And I'm going in and out. So I'm like, "Oh, dude, like, are we going to record on that? Where does it plug in? There's a wire attached to it? Why is it plugged into the wall and not the recorder? Is it vibrating? What is happening? What's happening?" And then he sticks it in certain places, and I'm going in and out, and maybe I think the thing in my face is a microphone, and I'm trying to record, and I say, "Hey, guys, welcome back to the podcast." And I just, and it's graphic, and it sounds like I'm making fun of it, and I am a little bit. This is a comedy podcast. Deal with it. But that is, like, all jokes aside, that is a fucked up situation. That is a horrific situation to have to deal with, to have someone come into your life and say, "I'm going to help you out. I'm not just help you out. I'm going to make you famous. I'm going to make you big. I'm going to make you celebrity. I'm going to make all your dreams come true with the wave of a wand." Instead of the wand, it's just a giant cock waving in your face as you're going in and out of consciousness. That is something that is wild, dude. That is that's fucked up. And that another part of Baby Reindeer, and this is going to also sound fucked up, but this show doesn't work unless the stalker is ugly. And if you're not familiar with the premise of the show, it's based on a true story about a woman who stalks the shit out of this bartender slash comedian who's trying to make it in the comedy industry. And there's a lot of fucked up shit going on. The comedian starts to develop some, weird twisted sympathy for his stalker. The stalker elevates shit and starts to go after his family, and it's a whole fucked up turn of events. And the show is 100% worth watching, despite how disturbing I just made it seem, because it is disturbing. And the show does not work unless the stalker is ugly. Because if you're getting stalked by a hot woman, if you're getting stalked by, like, and I'll just put it in my perspective as a straight man. If I'm single and I'm bopping around New York City, and I'm doing okay, maybe I'm getting laid every once in a while, I'm going on Hinge dates, my job is decent, I'm living in a perpetual state of feeling poor because it's New York City and it's expensive as shit. But even though I'm making a decent salary, it just keeps you at that level, and your life kind of feels like you're just paddling in place. And then all of a sudden, a 10 out of 10 shows up to my apartment complex, and she's just waiting in the lobby, and she's there every single day. And then eventually she says, "Hey, can I come up to your place?" And then I say, "All right." She's like a fucking like Adriana Chechik, Nina Agdal, fucking just Giselle, like a level of hotness that you can't even comprehend. Like when you see it in person, you're just like, oh my god, like what is happening here? It feels like someone just gave you GHB because your vision starts to blur and you go, oh my god, the ass, the titties, the back, the crack, the pussy, boom, everything is just coming into one, and you start to feel like you're actually tripping out. If you have a woman who is that level of hotness to the point where you can't understand it, you're inviting her up to your apartment. When she says, hey, and she starts sending you all these fucked up messages in the show, where, and in the show, the stalker sends the comedian messages, thousands of messages. And she's saying nice things, she's saying fucked up things, she's saying naughty things. If I had a girl that was a 12 out of 10 messaging me, I'm going to come up to your apartment, I'm going to hang you by a noose and rip your balls off and fucking spill your blood all over the carpet. I'm going to suck the life out of your cock. I'm going to suck your soul through your cock and you're not going to get it back. I would say I am in this apartment and the door is wide open. And I have already started to hang myself for you. The belt is around my neck, and I'm just waiting for you to finish the job. If it's truly a 12 out of 10. Because if a hot woman stalks you, that just becomes a crazy ex-girlfriend. That like I've had friends that have gone through this. I've known people that have gone through this where you date someone for so long because of how hot they are, and then once you get some emotional sobriety, you look back on that point in your life and you think, God damn, what the fuck was I thinking? And the hotness, the beauty blurs your judgment. So you're willing to put up with borderline stalking, crazy, batshit, fucking insane behavior because of how hot a person is. And it happens all the time, especially with guys. When the guy is the one who's sort of putting up with the craziness, that is something, uh, you know, that's a story as old as time. And I'm not saying that guys aren't crazy too. Guys are. I'm a little bit fucking insane. But I think it's easier for a woman to turn down a hot guy than it is for a guy to turn down a smoke show woman. And it's just, how we're programmed, how we're designed. But yeah, the show Baby Reindeer doesn't work. That situation doesn't work. It doesn't work as a creepy storyline unless the girl's ugly. Because if there's any sort of attraction to the main character, that creepy, deviant, just dangerous energy turns into like a sexual dangerous tension. And the story's just not the same. You're like, oh my God, is she going to kill me? Is she not? Like, it doesn't matter. It's fucking Adriana Lima. Who gives a shit? Fucking take my soul, rip my soul out of my body and put it in someone else. I'll live in another body to be able to touch your body for 4 seconds. That's how fucking hot this girl is. So that is my breakdown of Baby Reindeer. I think it's a great show. It's very disturbing. It's very good. It's very engaging. And then that was just a thought that I was noticing towards the end of the show where I'm like, this doesn't really work. Like, if you're a hot stalker, there's just a totally different dynamic to that. There's just a totally different vibe. So, speaking of things that are disturbing, speaking of terrible things that have happened, I don't know if you guys saw this. This came out this week. A North Korean North Korea. The title of the article is North Korea publicly executed a man for watching K-pop. North Korea publicly executed a man for watching K-pop. It says that North Korea publicly executed a 22-year-old citizen for listening to and sharing K-pop music and films, according to South Korea. The man from Kingdom South Hwanghae Province was publicly executed in 2022 for listening to 70 South Korean songs. Does North Korea have a limit of how many South Korean K-pop songs you could listen to before you get executed in North Korea? Because it's weird that 70 would be the number. It's as if Kim Jong-un is standing there in the Gladiator Stadium where people are being publicly executed in North Korea, and Kim Jong-un is wheeling people out, and he's saying, "How many K-pop songs have you listened to?" And the person goes, 52. And Kim Jong-un goes, "All right, you're free to go." Next guy comes in. "How many K-pop songs have you listened to?" And the guy, he's looking at his history and he goes, "I don't know, 63, mostly BTS." And Kim Jong-un goes, "You're free to go." And then the next guy comes in and he says, "I've listened to 70 K-pop songs." And Kim Jong-un goes, "Slit his throat right now." 70, 69 Kim Jong-un could have dealt with, 69 BTS songs, different songs. If you play the same song twice, it doesn't count. But if you listen to 69 different K-pop songs, I don't know if BTS has even 69 songs. That's the extent of my K-pop knowledge is BTS. So when I hear K-pop, the word K-pop, I just think of BTS. But it is wild that there's some sort of like that 70 K-pop songs would get you executed, as opposed to, I only streamed 63 and now I'm still alive. That's acceptable in Kim Jong-un's eyes. So it says this guy was publicly executed in 2022. I think it just came out now. There was some sort of report in 2024, which is why it's a story now as opposed to 2022. But this guy was killed back in 2022 for listening to 70 South Korean songs, watching 3 South Korean films, and distributing them, according to testimonies published in the North Korean Human Rights Report released by the South's Unification Ministry on Thursday. So that's where he went wrong. The K-pop songs probably okay. Maybe even the films were okay, but the distribution, giving people access to knowledge that there are human rights outside of North Korea. If you're giving North Korean citizens access to pop culture that says, "Hey, you don't have to be a cannibal." There's actually other countries in this world where you don't have to eat your cousin for dinner, and hear the movies to prove it. There's beautiful art in other parts of the world. There's beautiful music in other parts of the world. People have human rights in other parts of the world. You're allowed to hang up pictures in other parts of the world that aren't the face of your leader. You don't have to have Kim Jong-un's face plastered all over your house in other parts of the world. You could actually just have a picture of a coffee pot if you want to. You can't tell people that in North Korea. You can't give them information or media or any sort of pop culture relevant look into the outside world without getting executed. That's just how it is. And that's, this guy shouldn't have been killed, but they laid down the hammer on him. The report was a compilation of testimonies from 649 North Korean defectors. It highlights Pyongyang's brutal crackdown on Western influence and information flow into the isolated country. The ban on K-pop to shield citizens from the quote-unquote malign influence of Western culture was further tightened under new law that the North adopted in 2020, which prohibits reactionary ideology and culture. Dude, I mean, this guy shouldn't have been killed for K-pop, obviously. But imagine getting to the afterlife and there's other martyrs there. Like who are the number one, the greatest martyrs in history? Let me look this up. Martyrs in history. A lot of them are Christian martyrs. Well, that's a list of Christian martyrs here. 8 famous martyrs who died for their beliefs. You have Joan of Arc. You have, let's see, I don't know that guy. Emily Davison. I don't know her, but she died for women's rights. You have Martin Luther King Jr. died for civil rights. You have all these people who have died for things like women's rights, human rights, civil rights, religious beliefs, freedoms. And this K-pop defector, this guy gets killed by Kim Jong Un, and he floats up to martyr heaven, and everyone's talking, and he meets Martin Luther King Jr. and MLK goes, "Yeah, I was trying to get rights for black people, and they fucking filmed me cheating on my wife, and then they killed me when I went on the balcony, and then Abe Lincoln's there, and he says, I went to a movie theater and this fucking pussy put a bullet in the back of my head. I was trying to free the slaves. And then, you know, Emily Davison says she died for women's rights, and all this whole just this scene of people descending upon you in martyr heaven and telling you these are all the tremendous values and freedoms that I die for. And then everyone turns to you and goes, "Why did Kim Jong Un kill you? Why did you die, son?" And you go, "I was blasting BTS. I was." God, that Jungkook guy from BTS? They caught me listening in the bathroom, dude. It's my shit playlist. So it's hard to poop in North Korea because all we eat are rats and first cousins. And so you get a little constipated, and it's hard to access things that will help the flow down there. So the one thing that I've found is that listening to music, because my body is so brittle from not eating for 11 years, the sound waves actually vibrate my entire body because I'm skin and bones. And it helps me take a shit. So I call them K-shits, K-pop shits, kits, if you will. And I was listening to K-pop, and then somehow, somewhere, someone got access to my K-shit playlist, and they found out. They looked through my playlist and they said, "Hey, we see you've been listening to K-pop. How many songs?" And I said 63. And they said, "All right, that's fine. You're good to go as long as it's not over 69." And then they took my phone and they said, let's double check. Let's see that he hasn't listened to more than 69 K-pop songs, because everyone knows that 70 is the limit. 70 is the most K-pop songs you can listen to without being publicly executed. And God, God was not with me that day, because they found my offline Spotify playlist of Jungkook, and they said, "You know what? You've been enjoying too much K-pop on the toilet. We're gonna have to kill you." And that's my fight. That's my fight for freedom, is that I want people to be able to listen to K-pop while they shit in North Korea and not be publicly executed. And that's my fight. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in martyrdom heaven. And then Martin Luther King Jr., Emily Davison, Abraham Lincoln, fucking Joan of Arc, they all surround him and they say, "Hey, look, you're in no way, shape, or form equal to what we died for, but we all listen to music when we shit. I'm going to let you in on a secret," Joan of Arc says. "We all listen to shit music up in martyrdom heaven because it's the best music you can get." A lot of us died before Spotify was created. So up in heaven, we get access to that. We actually have, offline playlists, online playlists. You can pick from whatever you want. The service up here, it's 5G in heaven. It's actually 6G now. They release it in heaven first before they bring it back down. Starlink 2.0, we already have it. You can listen to whatever Spotify playlist you want, Joan of Arc says. And the North Korean defector goes, "Thank you so much," and that is my story. And that's exactly what I imagine the interaction in martyrdom heaven was like with the North Korean K-pop defector and the other martyrs from history. So the story goes on, and it says that other reactionary practices that are punished include, and this is punished in North Korea, they include perceived South Korean customs, such as brides wearing white dresses, grooms carrying the bride, sunglasses. So I'm dead. I, I yeah, I can't record a solo podcast without sunglasses, so I'm fucking dead in North Korea. And also drinking alcohol from wine glasses. So I guess you could get fucked up if it's a water glass or a whiskey glass. Or maybe you just drink it straight from the bottle. Maybe because I've heard Kim Jong Un is the number one consumer of Hennessy across the planet. Apparently, Kim Jong Un just buys millions and millions of dollars of Hennessy every single year. And maybe he's not trying to prevent alcohol. Maybe Kim Jong Un is fucking saying, "Hey, you know, look, I know I have some other terrible practices. I know I murder people for listening to K-pop, but look, you guys can drink alcohol. Just make sure it's from the bottle. I don't want to see any of you pussies pouring alcohol into wine glasses. That's for pussy ass bitches. Hennessy straight from the neck. You put the bottleneck up to your mouth and you chug that fucking Hennessy. I know. Look. I know the average weight of a North Korean is 95 pounds, and if you drink an entire bottle of Hennessy, you're probably gonna die of alcohol poisoning. But that's how I fucking roll because I'm Kim Jong Un. Don't let me catch you with a wine glass in your hand. You can drink, but just don't be a pussy about it. Bottles only. Bottle service. Mm, um, 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 Kim Jong Un. Mm, mm, um, Kim Jong Un. Mm, mm, Kim Jong Un. And what I just sang right there is the only K-pop song allowed to be played in North Korea. If you guys didn't know that, so I got the rights to it. I talked to Kim Jong Un, and he said yes, you can use that for your podcast. The report goes on to say that the government does not tolerate pluralism. I don't know what that is. Is that using words but plural? Like I can say, "Hey, pass me the remote," but I can't say pass me those remotes. Or I can say, "Yo, do you have an apple?" But they'll shoot me through the head if I said, "Do you have any apples?" So no pluralism. I'm not sure. They ban independent media, civil society organizations, and trade unions, um, systematically denying all basic liberties. So yeah, it's not a good time in North Korea. It's not a good time. Uh, It says in the past, North Korea has held executions in villages and prison camps where crowds could gather, according to human rights groups. But it had increasingly avoided executions in heavily populated residential areas where authorities had difficulty keeping track of those attending. It has also stopped holding executions near its borders and at facilities that can be easily monitored by satellites. The South on Tuesday threatened to restart anti Pyongyang frontline propaganda broadcasts in the latest bout of Cold War style campaigns between the rivals, North Korea, and resumed its trash carrying balloon launches. So, yeah, if you guys aren't aware, there has been a troll war going on between North and South Korea, where North Korea is sending shit-filled balloons across the border to South Korea, and South Korea is literally blasting K-pop and global news criticizing Kim Jong Un back into North Korea. So let's see how this whole thing progresses. I mean, I would not be surprised if the world ended because of K-pop, because there is a breaking point to where Kim Jong Un just hears enough K-pop being blasted over his border by South Korea, where he's looking at the red button and he's going, "I will fucking end all of you. I will take BTS, Jungkook. I will take all of you motherfuckers with me. I will press this button. Do not test me." Kim Jong Un, he's looking because he's going through an inner conflict in his head because he loves K-pop. It makes him feel like a little girl inside, and like, brings him back to his days as a child and before he became a murderous dictator. And he also hates what K-pop represents because it it represents a free culture, it represents democracy, it represents love and dancing and having a good time. So Kim Jong Un is sitting there and he's sipping on the Hennessy that he drinks every day, and he's not going to the bathroom because he doesn't have a butthole, he doesn't have to produce waste, but he's thinking like, God damn, if I did have a butthole, I would fucking shit out K-pop because that's what it is, and I don't want to listen to this shit anymore. And then boom, he presses the red button. World goes up in smoke, nuclear holocaust, and it all goes back to BTS. I would not be surprised because there's been other times in history, like 6 or 7 times, where the world has almost ended by accident, where a flock of birds gets detected as a nuclear strike, or there was like a whole conflict where a bunch of nuclear workers, or like nuclear weapons workers on a submarine, thought that another country was going to attack them and there were nukes coming that way, but it wasn't actually a nuke. But like the whole world has almost ended on accident 6 or 7 times. So it would not surprise me at all if North Korea launches a fucking nuke because of the speakers blaring K-pop across the border, and then South Korea launches a nuke to North Korea. North Korea just fucking sends out everything. I see a fucking mushroom cloud over New York City, and then the last thing I hear is an announcement from Kim Jong-un, some sort of global recording where he says, "This is because of BTS. Fuck all of you." And boom, that's how the world ends. Wouldn't be surprised. It tracks for human behavior. We can be petty as shit sometimes. Another story, speaking of, other terrible things that have happened, fights breaking out, shit like that. Uh, there were a bunch of pride parades this weekend, and I didn't actually go to a pride parade, but I saw people gathering for the pride parade because I went to Japan Fest in Queens, and obviously there were parades going on all over for the end of Pride Month, and so saw a bunch of people. Don't really know what happened, but I guess we'll find out. One of the scenes from Pride Parade, this article says that multiple brawls break out in a chaotic scene inside Washington Square Park Pride celebration. Multiple brawls and wild chaos engulfed Washington Square Park in the aftermath of New York City's Pride Parade Sunday, as police battled to control the unruly mob of revelers. Shocking footage shows. Video from the jaw-dropping scene showed fistfights and hair pulling as several troublemakers turned the crowded park into their own personal boxing ring, while herds of onlookers watched with glee and even whipped out their phones to record the showdowns in Lower Manhattan. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I would pay to watch that. If there was a UFC fight pass and it said there's going to be just a bunch of gay fights, and I mean that in the best way, just there's going to be a park and a bunch of homosexuals are going to show up and they're going to fight each other, and it's going to get bloody, and there's going to be a winner, and there's going to be, we'll crown the king and queen gay from that fight, the fight pass. You're going to have to fight your way through all these gays dressed in pride outfits, and it's going to be, you need rules. You can't just have an absolute free for all, but you need rules. And so if there was a boxing ring in Washington Square Park and people just were gathering in, and Bruce Buffer is there and he's just going, "It's time for gay boxing." That gets me going. That's something I would pay for. I mean, look, I watch straight boxing. I know what that's about, and that's cool. I've not seen gay boxing before. So, you know, that's again, you need some rules, but set up a boxing ring in Washington Square Park and tell a bunch of people gay people are going to fight in Washington Square and see how many tickets you sell, and it's probably going to be in the thousands. It says at one point, two young men threw haymakers at each other before one took a tumble to the ground. So that did the one guy throw a haymaker and he missed, and then the other guy was ducking out of the way and then hit him in the face and then the other guy tumbled? Or was it like two guys swinging at the same time and they just let out like a gay, like, and they just missed altogether and one of them tumbled to the ground? And then the fight was just over. Like that is the gayest way to end a fight. Like to just one guy throws a haymaker and goes, and he completely misses, and the other guy goes, and he completely misses, and then you're just on the ground going, oh, what the fuck? Oh, do you just want to get like sushi or something? This, well, I don't even know why we're fighting. That is, I mean, that would be a gay fight. That's something, it happens. It's a seconds later, two women briefly took swings at each other while a couple of bystanders attempted to break up that kerfuffle. I mean, kerfuffle is a gay way to explain what's happening in a fight as well. So that makes, pretty good sense. I would never see a straight fight and go, that's a kerfuffle, but maybe I'd see a gay fight and go, yeah, that is a kerfuffle. In another instance of violence, one woman who appeared to be bleeding from her face and dried with blood on her white shirt went head to head with a peer as the crowd loudly cheered, according to footage. So now we're getting into gladiator territory. Now the gays are gathering around, and we have a bloody bitch in the middle and I respect the shit out of this bitch. She's bleeding down her face, she's bleeding down her shirt, and she's just going, let's fucking go. I will beat up I'm going to work my way to the top of this UFC gay fight pass. I'm going to claw my way up to the top. I'm going to beat any bitch that steps to me. Other spats of savagery include one woman pushing another off the edge of the park's iconic water fountain, while another brawler yanked a woman in a pink shirt to the ground by her hair. I'm just imagining, like, if this whole pride parade brawl, just like people biting each other in the face and blood streaming down and gushing from fucking chest and neck and bloody clothes, and people are just fucking trying to beat the absolute shit out of each other. And then there's a couple people coming from out of town to visit New York that have no idea what's going on, and they're from fucking Idaho, and they've never seen a pride parade. They have no idea what pride to them is fucking one of the 7 deadly sins from the Bible. And they get to New York, and they're with a couple kids. It's a couple from Idaho with 2 kids, and the kids say, "Mommy, Daddy, I really want to go to Washington Square Park. I want to go to that park right there." And the parents, they hear some things coming from the park, but they don't really know that a full-on fight is coming out. They don't know. Well, coming out, it is out. This fight is not in the closet. This fight is fully out in Washington Square Park. And the parents roll up with their kids to Washington Square Park, and the first thing they see is just a woman in pride gear, just rainbow head to toe, fucking bleeding from her face, and she's choking out another bitch on the ground, going like, "Yeah, you fucking like that shit, you motherfucker. I will stuff my pride down your fucking throat like my fucking girlfriend's giant dildo she uses to stick down my throat every fucking night, and I fucking love it. You fucking love." And the parents from Idaho are just, they're standing there like, okay, they're trying to explain to their kids that yes, this is New York, and sometimes things happen that don't happen in Idaho, and the kids are just screaming like, "Mommy, Daddy, why is everyone just bleeding? Why are rainbows all over the place? I thought rainbows were supposed to be fun." And the parents just go, "Hey, let's get out of here. Let's leave Washington Square Park because there's a gay fight going on, and it's not good for the children to see." And the mom turns to the husband and goes, "Yeah, we should definitely get the kids out of here." And the husband goes, "Yeah, I'll catch up in a sec." And the mom takes the kids away, and the husband goes to the closest vendor and gets a bag of popcorn, and he just sits on the stoop and goes, "They don't have gay fights in Idaho. I'm gonna fucking watch this shit." I'm gonna watch this shit to the end because I'm gonna throw some money down. And then a bunch of straight dudes just sit in a circle around the fight and they just start exchanging bets and the dad's getting in on it and then he has to go back to the wife and say, "Hey, we got to move into Washington Square Park now because I just lost our house on a gay fight betting in Washington Square Park." And so that's just the circle of life. That's the gay circle of life. And so look, I'm not for public fights. It's dangerous. There, you see videos all the time of people that get in fights and there's just one hit and then someone's head cracks on the pavement and then boom, they're dead. You had no idea what you were doing. You were getting in a fight with someone over, a bag of Skittles, and then all of a sudden you throw a punch and someone cracks their head on the side of a sidewalk and you're going to jail for 10 years. It's fucked up. Don't fight. But if I was going to watch a public fight, 100% I'm watching Pride fight in Washington Square Park. If I could pay for a public UFC fight pass, it would be Pride fight. So I hope everyone's okay. Hope these people are doing well. I think it would be fun to wrap up with an "Am I the asshole?" and just go with tradition. Because here on Breaking Takes for the past few weeks, we've been wrapping up with an "Am I the asshole?" So we'll do this quickly too, because we're already at 45 minutes. Solo episode, it takes a lot out of you. But yeah, let's fucking do it. So this one is, am I the asshole for abandoning my parents at an island in the Caribbean so I could get back to our cruising time? I graduated high school back in December. As a gift, my parents got me a cruise. It was also for my 18th birthday. It was also a family vacation. We usually stay at all inclusive resorts, but I have always wanted to go on a cruise. I told my parents it was different and that if we went on excursions, we had to follow the schedule no matter what. Well, it was a week-long cruise, and they would not head back to the ship when I said it was time to go. They were busy shopping and bargaining with locals. I finally said that I was heading back to the ship. My mom waved me off. They missed the departure by a lot, like 45 minutes. They got a hold of me through WhatsApp. They wanted to know why I didn't get the boat to wait for them. I wanted to scream that they were not going to inconvenience 3,998 people because two could not understand what a schedule was. They ended up having a fly to the next port and it was expensive. They are pissed at me for leaving them behind. I don't know what I was supposed to do. They literally told me that they literally told me they knew what they were doing. I wish I never asked for this. They are making me miserable because I left without them. Your parents are fucking assholes for sure. These are the type of people, like, they think the world waits for them. If if you went with your parents to see Oppenheimer and your parents were running late, they would tell you, "Hey, do you mind delaying the bomb for 45 minutes? I know the whole movie runs in a certain fashion and that you have no control over when the events happen. It's up to the director and the people who made the film. But can you call Christopher Nolan real quick and have him refilm Oppenheimer so the bomb occurs 45 minutes later? Because we're running a little bit late. Do you think you could do that for me?" And the response to your parents should be, "Suck my dick." And you are pieces of shit. You should not have missed the cruise. Don't book a cruise in the first place. I don't understand cruises. It seems like they suck. I'm not a cruise guy. I've never been on a cruise. Maybe I'm not giving cruises a fair shake. But don't book the cruise in the first place. You couldn't have wanted to be on the cruise that bad anyway if you're running 45 minutes late. And also, what do you do for planes? Do you hold up planes of people because you're running late in the airport? What do you do? What do you do for Zumba class? What do you do for yoga? What do you do for weddings? I'm done with these parents. What do you do for any gathering of people? Do you just expect everyone else to wait for you? Do you just expect the world to stop? Because the world doesn't stop. It keeps on going. And sometimes I forget that too. I have ideas in my head where I go, yeah, everything is about me, blah, blah, blah. And I can get into that mode sometimes where I feel sorry for myself and I expect the world to concave to my interests and my desires and needs. And it's not like that. I have to remind myself of that all the time. So, fuck these parents. But at the same time, you know, I hope they realize that that's not a fun way to walk through life. It's just not fun for anyone. So thank you guys for listening to this episode. I hope this episode has been fun from you. It's a different style of breaking takes. My brain gets a little bit loose on the mic when when Sam's not here to come back at me and sort of keep me in check. So if it got wild, it was what it was, and I don't apologize for it. But it's part of solo podcasting. It's part of that mental illness of getting on the mic and just saying the thoughts and shit that runs through your head for 49 minutes and 44 seconds. Sam will be back soon. I also recorded a solo episode, or not a solo episode. I recorded another Breaking Takes episode with my girlfriend, who is, she was kind enough to fill in as a co-host for another recording of Breaking Takes. So you have this solo episode and then another one that will be coming out that you guys can look forward to. And if you want more of these, you can sign up for breakingtakes.supercast.com for bonus episodes, the ability to become part of the show. And most importantly, just tell someone about the show. If you like the show, if you enjoy it, if it makes you laugh a little bit, share it with someone. Share it with a friend, share it with a parent. If your parents are running 45 minutes late to a cruise, say, sorry, I can't fucking help you guys because you're pieces of shit and you expect the world to wait for you. But hey, here's the Breaking Takes podcast. You can listen to a bunch of episodes while you're flying to the next port because you missed the cruise stop. Rate us on Spotify. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us get the word out there. It helps our episodes appear higher in searches. So when people search K-pop, Kim Jong-un, execution, gay pride fight, Washington Square, all that shit, we will pop up. This episode will pop up. This podcast will pop up higher in those searches. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Peace.